Do exactly this right now. Stand up from your chair. Reach both of your arms directly behind your back. Interlace your fingers together. Now lock your elbows completely straight. Pull your shoulders aggressively backward, opening your chest as wide as possible. Finally, slowly lift your interlaced hands upward and away from your spine. Hold that exact position. Do not let go. Pay absolute, hyper-focused attention to the sensation ripping across the front of your body right now. Feel the intense, tight, almost painful restriction pulling across your chest muscles and the front of your shoulders. Feel the dense stiffness deep in the joints. Feel the literal resistance of your own body fighting against the movement. Notice how incredibly difficult it is just to hold your arms a few inches away from your back. Notice how your breathing feels restricted because the tissue around your ribs is locked down tight. You can let go now. You think that tightness is just a normal sign of getting older. You think you are stiff because you slept in a weird position or because you haven't been to the gym this week. You think stretching is just a minor, optional chore that athletes do to prevent a pulled hamstring before a jog. You are entirely, catastrophically wrong. That stiffness you just felt is not just tight muscle. It is biological glue. It is the literal physical manifestation of accelerated cellular aging taking hold of your structure. And right now, across three distinct, undeniable layers of cellular biology, genetic preservation, and the daily physical rituals of the ancient Roman Empire, I am going to show you exactly why the modern refusal to stretch is rotting your cells from the inside out, and how a daily Roman stretching routine is the ultimate anti-aging medicine. Layer 1 is the architecture of your connective tissue. Your muscles and organs are not just floating freely inside your body. They are tightly wrapped in a continuous, spiderweb-like sheath of connective tissue called fascia. When you are young, your fascia is hydrated, elastic, and slippery. It allows your muscles to glide smoothly over one another. But when you stop moving your joints through their full range of motion, when you sit in a chair for 10 hours a day, the fascia becomes dehydrated. It becomes sticky. It literally glues itself together, locking your body into a rigid, hunched posture. But the real danger is not just bad posture. When fascia becomes restricted, it creates a localized environment of chronic, low-grade inflammation. The tissue is starved of blood flow and oxygen. When you interlaced your fingers and pulled your arms back, you physically ripped that fascial glue apart. And when you apply deep, sustained mechanical tension to fascia, you trigger a profound biological response. The physical stretch forces the cells within the fascia to release specialized lipid mediators called resolvins. Resolvins are not just painkillers. They are microscopic chemical assassins that actively hunt down and shut off inflammation at the cellular level. When you stretch, you are not just becoming more flexible. You are physically wringing the inflammation out of your own connective tissue like water out of a sponge. Layer 2 is genetic preservation. How can a physical stretch possibly slow down the aging of a cell? Through a biological process called mechanotransduction. Mechanotransduction is the process by which a cell converts a physical mechanical force, like the pulling of a stretch, into a chemical signal inside the DNA. Your cells are listening to the physical tension of your body. When you hold a deep, intense stretch, the mechanical pull on the cell membrane sends a signal directly into the nucleus of the cell. This signal suppresses oxidative stress and downregulates the genes responsible for cellular decay. And by reducing that oxidative stress, stretching actively protects your telomeres. Telomeres are the protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes. They are the biological clock of your life. Every time a cell divides, the telomeres get shorter. When they get too short, the cell becomes senescent. It becomes a zombie cell that stops functioning and accelerates the aging of everything around it. Chronic inflammation and oxidative stress are the primary forces that cause telomeres to fray and shorten prematurely. By using deep, sustained stretching to flood the body with anti-inflammatory resolvins and alter gene expression through mechanotransduction, you are building a chemical shield around your telomeres. You are using a physical pull to protect your genetic code. To understand how wildly we have deviated from this biological requirement, look at the daily routine of the ancient Roman citizen. The Romans did not view mobility as an optional fitness trend. They viewed it as the fundamental baseline of human health. Every Roman bath complex in the empire was built with a massive, open-air courtyard attached to it called the palaestra asterisk. The palestra was not just a place for gladiators to wrestle. It was the absolute center of daily Roman physical life. Before a Roman citizen ever entered the heated waters of the baths, they spent hours in the palaestra asterisk. They were anointed with olive oil by an attendant called an asterisk aleps asterisk. And then, they were stretched. They performed deep, sustained, full-body mobility work. They had their joints pulled, their limbs extended, and their fascia deeply manipulated. They did not do a 30-second hamstring stretch and call it a day. They subjected their connective tissue to prolonged mechanical tension every single afternoon. They did not know about telomeres or mechanotransduction, but they understood that if the tissue became rigid, the body died. They stretched to maintain the biological elasticity of youth. Now look at the profound, devastating physical laziness of modern society. We sit at a kitchen table to eat breakfast. We sit in a car to commute. We sit in an ergonomic office chair for 8 hours staring at a glowing screen. We commute home sitting down. We sit on a soft couch to watch television. We spend 16 hours a day locked in a forward-flexed, C-shaped posture. We allow our fascia to dehydrate, glue itself together, and calcify around our joints. We allow chronic inflammation to pool in our restricted tissues. We allow our telomeres to fray under the oxidative stress of a stagnant, immovable body. And then, when we can barely lift our arms over our heads to put on a jacket, when our lower backs ache from standing up, we blame it on our age. We are not getting old. We are literally solidifying. We are turning into stone because we remove the mechanical tension required to keep our cells alive. Now think back to that intense, restrictive pulling across your chest when you stretched your arms behind your back. Recognize the sheer magnitude of the biological decay you have allowed to take hold of your body, and exactly what happens when you decide to rip it apart. Imagine what happens tomorrow when you run the Roman protocol. You wake up. You do not immediately sit down with a cup of coffee. You stand up. You reach for the ceiling. You reach behind your back. You drop into a deep lunge. You find the tightest, most glued down, restricted tissue in your body, and you pull it. You hold that mechanical tension for 60 unbroken seconds. The fascia physically unglues. The fibroblasts wake up. A flood of anti-inflammatory resolvins surges through the tissue, hunting down and neutralizing the cellular fires. The mechanical pull triggers mechanotransduction, sending a signal directly into your DNA to suppress oxidative stress. Your telomeres are shielded. Your posture straightens. Your joints rehydrate. Your chest opens up, allowing your lungs to draw in 20% more oxygen. Resolvin production, genetic preservation, fascial release. 3 profound, intense, life-saving biological mechanisms running perfectly, simultaneously, cascading into one another to literally slow the ticking clock of your cellular age. And all it requires is for you to stop sitting and start pulling the tissue. Look at the chair you have been sitting in. It is not a place of rest. It is a biological cast. It is accelerating the decay of your genetic code. Tomorrow morning, stand up, interlace your fingers, pull your shoulders back. Stop accepting stiffness as a consequence of the calendar. Stop letting your connective tissue turn to glue. Rip the tissue, protect the cell. Stretch like a Roman. Your bed, stand up completely straight. Do not stagger out of the bedroom. Do not walk to the kitchen to sit down and drink coffee. Stand in one exact spot. Now, raise your right knee up into the air until your thigh is parallel to the floor. Drive your foot downward and strike the floor firmly with your heel. The exact second your heel strikes the ground, instantly and aggressively push up onto your toes, violently contracting the muscles in your calf. Now, do the exact same thing with your left leg. Strike the heel, push up onto the toes, flex the calf. Right, left, right, left. I want you to march in place, aggressively, rhythmically, and deliberately for exactly 60 seconds. Pay absolute, hyper-focused attention to exactly what is happening inside the architecture of your lower body as you perform this movement. Feel the immediate, intense heat building deep inside the back of your lower legs. Feel the rhythmic, physical, mechanical vibration traveling up your shin bone, through your knee, and into your hip with every single aggressive heel strike. Notice how, within 30 seconds, your breathing involuntarily deepens. But most importantly, notice the sudden, distinct, undeniable sensation of lightness in your ankles and your feet. Notice how the dense, puffy, groggy, swollen feeling that you woke up with begins to physically, literally drain away from your lower extremities. Notice the sharp, sudden clarity arriving in your brain. You think that swollen, heavy feeling in your ankles and your feet is just a natural, unavoidable consequence of gravity and getting older. You think the early morning brain fog and your increasingly sluggish immune system are just the mandatory penalties of crossing the age of 65. You think the absolute best, most responsible thing you can do for your aging body in the morning is to sit quietly in a comfortable recliner and take it easy. You are entirely, catastrophically wrong. Taking it easy is not protecting your body. Taking it easy is exactly what is drowning your cells in toxic waste. The swelling in your ankles is not a symptom of age. It is a symptom of severe mechanical failure. And right now, across 4 distinct, undeniable layers of human anatomy, immunology, and ancient military biomechanics, I am going to show you exactly why your modern sedentary lifestyle is turning your body into a stagnant swamp, and why the most lethal soldiers in human history held the absolute mechanical cure. Layer 1 is structural plumbing. Your body possesses 2 massive, complex circulatory networks: the cardiovascular system and the lymphatic system. Your cardiovascular system has a violent, incredibly powerful central pump, the heart. It beats 100,000 times a day, generating massive hydraulic pressure to force oxygen-rich blood through miles of arteries, driving it all the way down to your toes. But your lymphatic system is completely different. The lymphatic system is the biological sewer and security network of your body. Its job is to clear away dead cells, flush out metabolic waste, drain excess fluid from your tissues, and deploy immune white blood cells to destroy cancer cells and viruses. But here is the terrifying biological reality. The lymphatic system has absolutely no central pump. There is no lymph heart. The entire system is completely, totally passive. It is a vast network of tiny, thin-walled vessels tasked with moving heavy, toxin-loaded fluid from your feet, all the way up your legs, through your abdomen, and up to your collarbone to be filtered. It is a one-way street, fighting an endless, brutal battle against the absolute gravity of the earth, and it has no engine to drive it. Layer 2 is biomechanics. If there is no central pump, how does the heavy, toxic lymphatic fluid ever defy gravity and travel from your feet back up to your chest? It relies entirely on extrinsic mechanical force. Specifically, it relies on the muscular architecture of your lower leg. Deep inside your calf is a massive muscle called the soleus. In the medical and biomechanical communities, The soleus and the gastrocnemius muscles are literally, scientifically referred to as the second heart, or the peripheral heart. When you strike your heel against the ground and push up onto your toes, you violently flex that calf muscle. When the muscle contracts, it thickens. As it thickens, it physically crushes against the deep veins and the deep lymphatic vessels running through your leg. Inside those lymphatic vessels are microscopic, one-way biological valves. When the calf muscle squeezes the vessel, the hydraulic pressure forces the toxic fluid violently upward. The exact millisecond the fluid moves up, the one-way valve snaps shut, so the fluid cannot fall back down under the weight of gravity. Squeeze, snap. You are physically, mechanically milking the toxic fluid up your legs. The calf muscle is the engine. The one-way valve is the lock. This is the soleus pump. It is the only way your body can flush the garbage out of your lower extremities. To understand how this system was engineered by evolution to operate flawlessly, you have to look at the most dominant, heavily conditioned military force in the ancient world. The Roman legionary. The Roman army conquered the known world, from the deserts of Africa to the freezing forests of Germany. But they did not conquer it just with short swords and shields. They conquered it with their feet. The foundation of Roman military supremacy was the march. A Roman legionary was required, by brutal military discipline, to march 20 Roman miles, roughly 18.5 modern miles, in 5 hours, every single day. And they did it while carrying 80 pounds of iron armor, weapons, and rations. Think about the biomechanics of that march. It was a relentless, highly disciplined, rhythmic striking of the heel, an endless, brutal, continuous contraction of the calf muscle, step after step, hour after hour. The Roman legionaries were not just walking. They were running a massive, continuous, high-pressure hydraulic filtration system. Every single time that leather sandal struck the earth and the calf muscle fired, the second heart squeezed. The one-way valve snapped shut. The heavy lymphatic fluid was violently pumped upward against gravity. Their metabolic waste was instantly flushed. Their tissues were completely drained of excess fluid. The Roman march was not just a method of transportation. It was the ultimate, biologically perfect lymphatic engine. Now look at the sheer, devastating biological tragedy of the modern world. We invented the recliner. We invented the ultra-soft couch. We invented the ergonomic office chair. We invented the automobile. We stopped marching. We stopped moving. We completely and totally surrendered to the gravity of the earth. When you sit in a chair or recline on a couch for 8 to 10 hours a day, the second heart goes completely offline. The soleus muscle becomes flaccid. The mechanical pumping totally stops. The hydraulic pressure drops to absolute zero. Because the pump is off, the heavy lymphatic fluid, loaded with dead cells, bacteria, metabolic waste, and toxins, literally pools in your lower extremities. The gravity pulls it down and nothing pushes it back up. Your ankles swell, your feet become puffy, your legs feel heavy and leaden. You think this is just a sign that you need to rest more. You are wrong. You are literally letting biological garbage rot and stagnate inside the tissues of your legs because you refuse to contract your calves. You have taken a flowing, high-pressure biological river, and you have turned it into a toxic, stagnant swamp. Layer 3 is immunology, and this is where the stagnant swamp becomes lethal. The lymphatic system is not just a trash chute. It is the primary superhighway for your entire immune system. Your lymphocytes, the elite T cells and B cells that your body produces to hunt down viral pathogens and destroy mutated, cancerous tumor cells, travel exclusively through the lymphatic fluid. They use this fluid to patrol the body, seeking out threats and transporting the captured pathogens to your lymph nodes to be neutralized. When your lymphatic system is stagnant because you are sitting in a chair and refusing to run the second heart, Your immune cells cannot patrol the body effectively. They are stuck in biological traffic. They cannot reach the tissues that need to be defended. They cannot transport the pathogens to the lymph nodes to be destroyed. The entire security apparatus of your body grinds to a halt because the transportation network has collapsed. By refusing to aggressively pump your calves, by choosing to sit in the recliner instead of moving, you are actively, deliberately suppressing your immune system's ability to fight off infections and degenerative disease. You are making yourself chemically vulnerable to the aging process. You are shutting down your own defenses. We must calibrate the science. I want you to know exactly how firmly established these mechanisms are in the medical literature, so you understand this is not a metaphor. The classification of the soleus and gastrocnemius muscles as the peripheral heart, and their absolute necessity in returning venous blood and lymphatic fluid to the chest against gravity, is undisputed cardiovascular anatomy. The complete reliance of the lymphatic system on extrinsic mechanical force, specifically muscular contraction and internal one-way valves, is textbook medical physiology. The lymphatic system has no pump. This is an anatomical fact. The severe immunological consequences of lymphatic stagnation, including the inability of macrophages and lymphocytes to clear pathogens and cellular debris, is heavily documented in modern immunology and oncology. And the historical documentation of the Roman legionary march, the relentless 20-mile-a-day pace under massive loads, is the foundational bedrock of ancient military history. The biomechanics are real, the immunology is real, the historical precedent is absolute. Now stand perfectly still and recognize the sheer magnitude of the biological machinery you have been turning off every single day, and exactly what happens when you turn the engine back on. Think about the fluid pooling in your ankles. Think about the toxic waste stagnating in your tissues. Think about your elite immune cells stuck in traffic, unable to defend your body. Imagine what happens tomorrow morning when you change the protocol. You stand up, you lift the knee, you strike the heel, you aggressively flex the calf, you march in place like a Roman legionary for 60 brutal seconds. The second heart violently fires. The soleus muscle crushes against the deep lymphatic vessels. The one-way valves snap shut. The heavy, toxic fluid is instantly forced upward against gravity. The swamp is flushed. The metabolic waste is driven into the lymph nodes to be destroyed. The traffic jam clears, and millions of elite lymphocytes flood into your tissues to hunt down pathogens and protect your cellular architecture. The swelling in your ankles disappears. The heavy, leaden feeling in your legs vanishes. The brain fog lifts as the toxins are cleared from your system. Mechanical pumping, lymphatic drainage, immune deployment. 3 profound, intense, life-saving biological mechanisms running perfectly, simultaneously, cascading into one another to rebuild the resilience, the immunity, and the structural integrity of the aging human machine. And all it requires is for you to run the engine for 60 seconds. Tomorrow morning, when your feet hit the floor, do not surrender to the comfort of the modern world. Do not walk to the recliner. Do not sit down. Do not let gravity win the battle for your biology. Stand in place. Lift the knee, strike the heel, push onto the toes, flex the calf. Fire the second heart, squeeze the vessels, flush the swamp, deploy your immune system. Stop treating your body like a fragile antique that needs to be protected from movement. Your body is a machine engineered for relentless hydraulic pressure. March, squeeze, pump. Walk like a Roman.